It was the very bad awakening for Slovakia in February 2018. Jan Kuciak and Martina Kušnírová have been murdered in their home. They were shot in the head. Jan was investigative reporter and Martina his fiancée. Unfortunately, in the time of murder, she was close to him. Jan's articles were about corruption in Slovakia, which is omnipresent, and it slowly dissolves our country. According to the Global Competitiveness Report for years 2016 and 2017, the Slovak Republic ranks to the second worst place in the European Union in the Index on Corruption Rate. Jan was writing about business activities between some oligarchs, politicians, businessmen, representatives of justice systems and others. He started to focus on national and international organized crime in Slovakia. For instance, he revealed how several high Slovakian public officers with companies doing businesses in Slovakia related to Italian mafia and 'ndrangheta profit from agricultural public funding. Jan was working on more such serious articles, but unfortunately he could not finish them. Nevertheless, lots of organizations, activists, investigative reporters started to continue in his work. An international platform, AllForJan, was created. Since one of the unfinished Jan's articles was related to the agricultural public funding, and published data were and still are in poor quality, during April 2018, the Faculty of Informatics and Information Technologies at Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava has organized the AllForJan Hackathon in collaboration with the investigative newspaper Aktuality, SME, Deník N, and the GovData Institute. The main objective of the hackathon was to provide tools to competent authorities and to public for searching and analyzing those data. I was attending the hackathon as a solver, but then our solution named Graph4Jan was not completed. But I am finally happy to announce that today it is. In this video, I am going to present the Graph4Jan, which is a codename for Cloud of Slovakian Linked Open Data that is periodically published by our open community LODSlovakia.EU. This year, we have focused on agricultural fundings. The solution, we believe, is a systematic approach for representing public data on the one hand, and it provides powerful data processing and semantic search and analyzing capabilities on the other hand. We believe that linked data are base building block for implementing transparency. The more data are linked and the relationships is visible, the bigger chances for the transparency. In this presentation, I am going to present first poor quality of Slovakian public data with focus on agricultural funding. Second, I will try to state the key problems of Slovakian public data, which resulted even to the hackathon. Third, I will present how linked data address to presented problems, and finally, I will show live demo of searching and exploring the Graph4Jan. To be more accurate what I mean by poor quality of Slovakian public data and what are the benefits of linked data in general, we will look on the well-known company Agroporúbka and its public fundings. I will compare the data and capabilities of present Slovakian public information system that store information about this company and its public fundings with Graph4Jan. Deník N published this story about company Agroporúbka in March 2018. This company is owned by former deputy of political party Smer Lubica Rožková. In year 2017, this small company, up to 9 employees, had requested public fundings for more than 170 different agricultural lands, that is 430 hectares of land located in 63 different cadastres. That is pretty lot of work for the small company. However, some lands was surely not usable for agricultural utilization, such as the parking lot that you can see on the screen. Or some lands belong to owners which even didn't know that Agroporúbka company is taking public fundings for their land. Deník N is one of my favorite Slovakian newspaper. Nevertheless, where it is possible to find this data published officially? My first visit of investigation for officially published data about agricultural public funding starts in the Slovakian Agricultural Paying Agency website. I would like to find all such lands that were object for funding requested by Agroporúbka. There is a search form that provides that kind of a search. However, it is not possible to search only by requester and get it all public fundings. To search for agricultural land, you have to first know identifiers of these lands. So by other words, you have to know the result to be able to find it. To get some identifiers, I am going to visit another website called the Geographical Request for Funding Information System. But unfortunately, this system again does not provide search over land data by funding requesters. Therefore, you have to find it manually. If you click on the land area, system shows few geographical properties of this land. Since 2018, you can additionally find the label of public funding requester. One way or another, this website did not help us much. Nevertheless, since we work with agricultural public funding for a while, we know that the depicted agricultural land with identifier 202/1 in locality Raškovce was the object for funding in 2017, where Agroporúbka was the funding requester. Hence, we can go back to the Slovakian Paying Agency and I run the search again. Finally, we get the result information that confirms that Agroporúbka had really requested for public funding for this land. However, it is the only information related to public funding. A few other display properties represents only geographical attributes of this land. But I would rather prefer to see the amount of funding that the company Agroporúbka has received. To search for agricultural funding receivers, you have to find and use another search form at the website. When I enter the Agroporúbka, I get information about received public funding, but unfortunately, the information is summary, and it is not possible to see its distribution to related agricultural lands. We can only see that Agroporúbka has received 111,000 euros in year 2017. Okay, now let's focus on getting and using the properties of Agroporúbka company itself. First, I visit the business register. I can see several properties of the company. Who is statutory body, where is the headquarters of company, when the company was established, and others. I said earlier that company is a small one, but how could I know that? Well, it is very simple. You have to visit another information system. Now we are looking at the statistical register of organizations, and this register provides some overlapping and some additional properties of Agroporúbka. It can be seen what is the main economic activity of the company, what is the kind of ownership, how big is this company, from 5 up to 9 employees, and many others. So you can see that it is not easy to work with public funding data in Slovakia. It is very hard to get the big picture about companies, agricultural lands, and actually about everything. Public data are stored in separated systems. Sometimes they are overlapping, and more importantly, it is not possible to find their relationships. But that is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that these data distributed into more information systems are unrelated in real. Information systems have their own way to represent data structures with their different identifiers. it is not possible to put data together and to work with them as with one coherent part. Such data are not interoperable. Hence, it is not possible to mash up data and query them. For instance, I cannot select such public funding requesters that have only 3 employees and overall size of farm land is bigger than 150 hectares. You have to associate the data manually, but that is unusable approach, or you have to develop integration project, but that costs a great effort. This unwanted state of data quality led into new national projects. We can call them the main pillars of public data. These are legal subject register, the physical person register, and the address register. The system should resolve the problem of inconsistency in structure and identifiers of data. Now we are looking at the record Agroporobka company in the legal subject register. Its address is Brezová 15-16-2/31 Michalovce. When we look at the same address in the address register, we expect that there is a relationship between these two records, so that Agroporobka company in the legal subject register directly refers to record in the address register, but it is not the case. These records are totally unrelated, so they are not interoperable. Their relationships are trying to be managed only in external integration system. Therefore, these new pillars didn't resolve the problem of public data since they remain unrelated. And there is another key problem. Not only that registers are not linked, the data stored in each pillar are inconsistent. For instance, there are many cases when the same identifier is used for more different legal subjects, and vice versa, there are different identifiers for the same legal subject. I personally don't see many benefits of these new pillars. And I think this is the biggest problem with our Slovakian public data. And this is the point where we are returning back to the objective of Hackathon, and the Graph4Jan is coming to the scene. The Graph4Jan is based on link data. Formally, the Graph4Jan is Graph or Slovakian link government data acquired from several base registers in version 2018. It is focused on agriculture fundings. Link data is next generation of web. The web of data, not web of documents. They represent the highest level of open data. European Commission, ISA² program, creates many standards and recommendations for so-called link government data, such as core public vocabularies, application profiles, and many others. And finally, the technology is today already mature, so why not use it? The link data are represented as graphs that consist of nodes that can represent anything, and links that represent relationships to other nodes. When there is a relationship between two nodes, it is called a triple. So this picture shows 18 triples of Agroporobka company in link data representation acquired from the legal subject register. The node in the center is the company itself, and its relations are properties of the company. So you can see its name, date of establishment, type of economic activity, the headquarters address, and others. It is of course possible to explore any node in the graph, such as the headquarters address in the address register. So now it can be seen how link data are stored in two different databases and they are linked. It means that there is a triple that links nodes stored in separated systems. In this case, the property headquarters address that links the Agroporobka company in the legal subject register with the address Brezova 1516-2/31 Michalovce stored in the address register. And this is how our Slovakian public data pillars should look like. The data should be interoperable, so they share the same identifiers and semantics. The more data are interoperable, the greater added value can be gathered. This final example shows agricultural public fundings represented as linked data. It can be seen that Agroporubka company in the legal subject register has some public funding request and some received public funding in the Slovakian agricultural paying agency system. And that request is linked to some agricultural land that is an object for public funding. So since 2016, our open data community LODSlovakia.EU started to periodically publish the linked open data Slovakia. The data are acquired from base registries such as the legal subject register, the address register, the central meta information system, the value added tax register, and many others. All data are represented as linked data, so everything can be linked to everything. So after the murdering of Jan and Martina, the 2018 version of Linked Open Data Slovakia focuses on agricultural data. Therefore, the name of this graph is Graph4Jan. New data were added from the soil register and from Slovakian Agricultural Paying Agency. For the purpose of searching and exploring Graph4Jan, it is possible to use the Slovpedia. Slopedia is a thin search portal that loads Graph4Jan data, and it provides semantic search and exploration over the public data. Moreover, the Slovpedia is extended by the Tripleskop, a visual client for grab data. Tripleskop also provides a Sparkle endpoint. Since the Graph4Jan uses the data catalog vocabulary, it is possible to run the same queries to the European Data Portal and Open Data Portal EU as on the Graph4Jan. For application, the Slopedia and the Tripleskop are being developed by Dataland. However, for the purpose of data standardization by public authorities and other legal subjects, the key artifact, the Graph4Jan data, are provided by our open community LODSlovakia.EU free under the CC0 license, hence without any restriction. Therefore, it is possible to download all datasets and load them into any RDF compliant triple store you are currently using or evaluating. It is also necessary to be said that not all datasets are full, since capabilities of our small community is limited. Nevertheless, the data about agricultural public funding that were available at the hackathon and all data from the soil registers are loaded to the Graph4Jan full. So let me show you the live demo of our solution. Okay, I'm going to use the Slopedia for the short demo of searching and analyzing linked agricultural data. I write Agroporubka here. And get all its properties that exist in the Graph4Jan. I can see Agroporubka's name, date of establishment, headquarters address, legal form, company size by number of employees, equity, ownership, who is statutory body, and many others. This third column represents the source of property. Therefore, it is clear which dataset has provided this information. I don't need to visit many different public websites because all data are now concentrated on one place. It can be seen that the properties are mostly acquired from the legal subject register, but these properties such as public funding receiver of and public funding requester of are acquired from the agriculture paying agency. As you can see, there are lots of requests created by Agroporubka, and we will explore some of them later. Perhaps this view of Agroporúbka does not look like as link data. However, when I use the Tripleskop and explore the neighborhood of the node that represents the company, I can see all its properties again, but this time as link data. I can see its name and date of establishment and many others. Now I return to the Agroporúbka again, and I'm going to investigate some Agroporúbka's request for funding. When I click on this request, I get its several properties, such as when the request was created or who is a requester, that leads us back to the Agroporúbka. But the most importantly, what is the funding object? When I click on the funding object, I can see concrete agricultural land. Again, I can see its all properties such as size, identifier, land type and others. But more importantly, I can see all related requests that were created for purpose of obtaining agricultural funding for this land. So when I view, for example, this first one, I find another request created in 2015 that was created by company Pemagrow, that similarly like Agroporúbka had created requests for the same land. Okay, I am going back to Agroporúbka with using the search again, but I would like just to note that it is possible to search Graph4Jan by any label related to any entity. I can write any identifier of land, such as 0, 8, and select the land, and I can see another agricultural land and its requests. So again, I write here Agroporúbka, and now I'm going to use the Tripleskop to present its several link data capabilities. I'm going to show you two things. First is an exploration of graph, and the second will be the construction of several queries, and I will run them against Graph4Jan. So I will start the exploration by showing the neighborhood of Agroporúbka. This time I am going to focus on this node that represents a cluster of 170 plus requests that were created by Agroporúbka. I am going to just put 3 of them to the canvas. First request, second, and third, and I'm going to explore their neighborhoods as well. First, second, and third, and I will remove the nodes that are not important, and these represents the source of triples. Can now collapse the Agroporúbka. So now we are looking at the 3 Agroporúbka's requests. And it can be seen on first glance that this first request has these public funding objects, which is agricultural land, whereas these two other requests share the same funding object, that is this agricultural land. I can see that the first request was created in year 2016, and also the second request was created in the same year, whereas the third request was created in 2017. Okay, now I am going to make a query, and I am interested of more public fundings object of Agroporúbka. So I just remove several nodes from the canvas. This one, and this one. And now I get the simple graph that show me concrete requests that was created by Agroporúbka and relation of this request to particular funding object, that is soil block part, and its type, that is funding request. When I change this concrete request to variable, it means that it is any request. And now this graph represents any request of Agroporúbka for this particular company. And in fact, this is a query. Since I want to see these requests in the result, I mark them to be in the result and run the query. And the query correctly returned these two requests of Agroporúbka are for this soil block part. Okay, I'm going to continue my exploration. I'm going to explore neighborhood of this funding object. I can see that the object name, it is Domaninský les, and I can see this type, current land type. It means that this land is natural grassland. So for example, when I remove these nodes and also change this particular agricultural land to any land and mark it to be in a result set, I created a query that represents any request of Agroporúbka where its funding object is anything that is natural grassland. So when I run the query, I get all requests of Agroporúbka. Funding objects is natural grassland. And I can continue my exploration further. This time I want to see all requests of any requesters that requested public funding for natural grasslands. So I just simple change this Agroporúbka node to the variable, and of course I want to see the requesters in the result set. So when I run this query, I get all legal subjects and their requests for such soil block parts that are natural grasslands. And I can continue to add more triples to create more complex query. I can add any properties of request or requester or any entity. This is a really powerful way to construct query. Moreover, I can even get all power of the query and modify it as desired. For example, I just want to see only one result or 12. So when I run this query, I get only 12 results. Okay, the final feature that I would like to present is to query the Graph4Jan in the same way how you can query the European Data Portal. This portal stores information about published public open data from all Europe countries. To search for them, the portal provides classical textual search but also a Sparkle search capability. Sparkle is a query language for linked data. There are several prepared queries, so I will just use this first one for getting number of all datasets. The query is pretty simple. Select and count all triples where anything is dataset. So when I run the query, I get the total number of datasets that can be found in European Data Portal. I just copy this query and return to the Tripleskop, and I will also know how many datasets is stored in Graph4Jan. So I just paste it contents of query here, and I run the query, and I get number 33, which is correct number because Graph4Jan in present contain 43 datasets, which consists almost 20 million triples. Dear all, I have presented the Graph4Jan, the Slovakian linked government data focused on agricultural funding. As you could see, linked data could provide that all data, even stored separately, could be used as one coherent part, since data are interoperable. Imagine that it is possible to merge any data from anywhere together and focus on gathering values from such enriched content, such as provide better search, make more detailed analysis, or develop smarter public service, or anything. I don't know any other future to imagine. Unfortunately, Slovakian informatization is heading toward linked data as slowly as possible. I think that our informatization of public administration has too many strategical priorities, so no one is really priority. Even approved national priorities, strategical priority the better data and strategical priority open data recommends usability of linked data in several selected situations. These priorities are drowned in the sea of other priorities. But I think this is wrong order. First should be fixed public data, I mean to establish the interoperability, then all other projects should follow. Otherwise, each new system will have to deal with its poor, inconsistent, unrelated data independently without the possibility to win. It's been half a year since that of Jan and Martina. Nevertheless, most subjects mentioned in Jan's articles still do their businesses or hold their function as public persons. It is obvious that we cannot expect that murder will be resolved soon in Slovakia. But I am glad to be wrong. And of course, Jan had worked also on several suspicious public procurement in our IT sector. If poor data and services could be caused by unfair competition, multiplied with weak data governance, Slovakian public data are the best example. Imagine that all public funding data were already published as open data in February 2018 by official public authority, not by Jan. He did not have to carry any risk of revealing data that should be open. Of course, linked data is only technology, and it wants more than that. However, I think that the Slovak Republic, so all of us, owe to Jan and Martina